And yeah, we had our first event on August 15th of 2017.
Wow.
And we were expecting 150. We had like 275 there.
No way.
Yeah, yeah, and it was just a unique feeling, of just bringing all these people together. The energy was amazing, and we couldn't get out of the room without people asking, "When's the next one? When's the next one?"
Welcome back to another episode of the Scorpion S podcast. Today, my special guest is Greg DeKalb, founder of Appointments IQ and Tony P's Networking here in Chicago. Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So for the folks that don't know you as well as I do, before we jump in, I'd like to touch on that story of how we kind of connected, because I thought it was very unique. Do you remember how we found each other?
No. I really appreciate that. So we're both in Delta Sigma Pi apparently, and I got to give you some some kudos for coming on and doing a promotion and talking about it. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I need to reach out. We need to establish a relationship. We're running into the same circles now. So yeah, I thought that was really cool, giving them a plug, and because it definitely resonated with myself.
Yeah, it's funny, you put on the right hoodie and the right colors and catch the eye of people, and they resonate with it, and all of a sudden they're like, connections are being made. And I remember when I met you the first time, you were asking me how I heard of Tony P's, and I think it was your business partner that was just DMing me on LinkedIn like every week.
Good.
Like, you got to come to these events. Like, this is what we're doing. We're doing some cool stuff, a lot of cool people. And, in the back of my mind, I was like, waiting for a reason to check out Tony P's. And then when you and I connected on the fraternity thing, I was like, I think this is a sign, so I'm going to show up.
No, absolutely. And, it's good to hear that our marketing is reaching the right people, and it all connected. So
yeah, so I'm very excited to have you here. We're going to talk about the great benefits of Tony P's and all that. But before we get down the road, I like to give a little context to the folks that don't know you. And
Sure.
If you can walk us through kind of what you were doing before you got into your successful businesses now, kind of like what brought you to this stage.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I've always been in sales and marketing. It's what I studied in school. Coming up here to Chicago, got my teeth cut selling Yellow Page advertising. So like real true sales grit, if you will, One thing led to another. I ended up in software sales and was traveling and working with marketing and advertising software, providing those solutions to agencies and brands, etc. And I picked up a knack for business development.
Sure.
Yellow Pages is kind of like the original lead generation, if you will. But yeah, just saw a need in the marketplace. Started implementing it at the startups I was working at.
Yeah.
We really saw some huge results in terms of booking meetings and getting that initial conversation going. So yeah. After a period of time, one of the partners of the firm I was working for said, "You know what? You really got something here.
Yeah.
You should package it and go and consult and take it to the marketplace."
Huh.
Yeah.
So you're a marketing and sales guy. What'd you study in college?
Yeah. Marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And did your Delta Sigma Pi connections lead anywhere early on, or was that kind of just floating in the background after school?
What? It was such a great foundation for myself, being able to go out and experience, be social, and at the same time just learn business etiquette and these different type of things. So it was a huge foundation. And I'll share a quick story on that front. But yeah, one of the first things that I did when I joined the organization is I right away met the president, wanted to sit down and have a conversation with him. And at the time, I was responsible for bringing the entertainment to the university, right?
Yeah.
So it was really cool because Delta Sigma Pi, they were very active and supported everything. And yeah, we were able to bring in some really awesome guests to the student body, and it was just incredible. So right there, that's where I kind of picked up a knack for putting on and producing events.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah.
That's cool that your young professional days had a little translation into kind of what you're doing now.
And one of the first time I was on stages was a result of Delta Sigma Pi and the university board coming together. We actually brought in Oprah's boyfriend, Stedman Graham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to the campus, and I remember meeting him, and it's like, wow. So, helping be behind the scenes of these productions, get you access to these individuals.
Yeah.
And that just always resonated with me, and I always sought out those opportunities.
It's neat that the organization allows us to build some of those skill sets early on, and also you get the freedom to like experiment and try new things where maybe if you were in corporate, they would be like, I don't know about that. But like the fact that you got to be in front of like Oprah's boyfriend, or I have a story with a couple of my brothers when we were in college. We were campaigning to have Mark Cuban come speak at Northern Illinois.
Oh, wow.
Because this was like the height of Shark Tank, and we're all business majors, right? And we're just like dreaming big. We're like, who can we get out here that would like just sell out the Convocation Center?
I love it. Yeah.
A couple of my guys, we came up with a hashtag on Twitter when Twitter was like really hitting its stride. So we got that trending, and we were walking around campus and getting everybody to tweet Cuban to NIU, and it started trending enough where Mark actually saw it.
Okay.
And we were like, all right, we got all this momentum. Like, what happens now? And through networking, I had gotten Mark's email address, which, to be fair, isn't too hard to find. Like, he wants people to email him, and I sent him a note, and he was like, I was waiting for somebody to reach out. I saw the hashtags. I'm like, what's the deal? So I've got emails between me and Mark Cuban back when I was like 21, trying to get him out to the DeKalb area in Illinois here. And unfortunately, the schedules with the Mavericks and the Bulls didn't line up, so we weren't able to actually get him out there. Yeah. But just the fact that, you join an organization allows you to flex those skills and be creative. And I mean, there's so many benefits to Delta Sigma Pi.
It's amazing, if you raise your hand, the opportunities that'll come to you.
Yeah, that's going to be a recurring theme, I think, in this conversation as we get into your organizations. So what was like the exact moment or experience that you had where you were in corporate and you were like, I need to like do networking? Like, I think this is my calling. Do you have like a moment in time?
Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, when the partner came up and said, hey, you need to package this and, take it to the marketplace, I remember a very specific moment. I was at Kincaid's with my business partner, Tony P. Yeah. And I was sitting there mapping out this company, and it was that typical situation on the paper napkin and everything. Yep. We were eating chicken wings, drinking beer, watching March Madness, and I explained it to him, and he was like, man, this is really cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Tony P., he'd been networking religiously for decades here in Chicago. Coming from the corporate world, I really didn't get involved too much with the general networking. It was always, industry specific type of things, right? Trade shows or something along those lines. But he mentioned, he's like, yeah, we should take this and go out to networking events and find clients. And in that moment, I was like, okay, that's what we need to do. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a long story behind that, but yeah, I think that addressed the question there.
Yeah. So, can you take us back to maybe like the first event you hosted? Like, did anybody show up? Like, what was the theme? Like, how did you guys have a successful event?
So just picking up there. So we ended up going to the different networking events, and to keep ourselves organized, we created a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. People knew us as these networking guys around Chicago, and they wanted to know where they should go for the evening, right? So we were distributing it via email, and as the demand grew and people continued to ask, we built out a newsletter.
Nice.
And at this point, all we're doing is trying to be good stewards of building community. Yeah. So we were just putting out anybody that sent us their events. We put it on a newsletter, and that continued to grow. And then we got that question. Hey, so when are you guys going to start doing events? Yeah. And we took a step back, and in the back of my mind, I always knew it was going to happen. It was just kind of a natural transition, and I was going on this entrepreneurial journey, as it were. And I was just making notes of all these events we were going to, the likes, dislikes, and these different type of things. And yeah, Tony and I sat down and we really methodically thought it out. And we were like, okay, you know, how can we get our own flavor of it going, right? And one of the first things we wanted to do was create more energy.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the events we were experiencing, they were great, a little vanilla for us.
Yep.
You know, so we're like, okay, what are these nightclubs? I mean, such beautiful, awesome nightclubs in River North, right? What do they got?
Chicago has a ton of great venues.
Yeah, and it's like, what are they doing on like a Wednesday night or a Thursday night?
Right.
You know, and most of them are closed.
Sure.
Right. They make their money on
because the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe a Sunday with a brunch in the summer.
Exactly. So we knew a few of the club owners, so we went and we had a conversation with them. Said, hey, you know, what if we were able to bring, you know, a couple hundred affluent business types, you know, through here on a Thursday night, you know, between 6 and 9. You know,
really ramp up that revenue for them, and then you get a cool venue and something new for these folks to like. Instead of just going to some Irish bar happy hour, like something different.
They're getting foot traffic outside of their normal, you know, bubble, if you will. They're turning over more products, which leads to, you know, more volume that they can buy.
Yep.
And same deal with their resources, you know, bartenders, etc. I mean, they're giving those folks more hours. So they thought it was great, and you know, they kind of chuckled. They're like, okay, you're gonna bring a couple hundred business people here on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, well, I think we could do it. You know. So yeah, one of them said, okay, we'll give you a shot. So it was Rocket, which is a really nice place. No longer there, unfortunately, but in River North. But it was a staple there for a good while. And yeah, we had our first event on August 15th of 2017.
Wow.
And we were expecting 150. We had like 275 there.
No way.
Yeah, and it was just a unique feeling, you know, of just bringing all these people together. The energy was amazing, and you know, we couldn't get out of the room without people asking, "When's the next one? When's the next one?" You know, type of thing.
That's amazing. And like, I know from throwing events too, like sometimes it's hit or miss, and like you can get a lot of interest, and then who knows who's going to show up. Like it really depends on the day, the time, how people are feeling. So for you to almost double the amount of folks that showed up at your first event is wild.
Yeah. Granted, we did have, you know, a good few month runway, and you know, people were wanting to support us, and we were hammering it into people and that type of thing. So we had a lot of support.
Very good.
You know, but I do want to tell a quick side story on that,
please.
if I can. So one of the biggest decisions, you know, we had to make, because keep in mind, you know, I'm a beginning entrepreneur here. You know, budgets are nil. You know, we're not a vetted product yet, so sponsorship is not there, right? So everything's a cost at this point, right? Including our reputations. Everything's on the line here, right? And yeah, something came to me. This is a real defining moment because we had an opportunity to have a videographer there.
Nice.
Okay.
Content's king.
Content is king, and videography is it's an expense. You know, I mean, it's an investment, but it's a heavy investment, if you will.
Yeah,
when you
and
look
for the videographers, we appreciate your skill set.
Absolutely.
I mean, for the years that it takes to build that skill. I mean, we're not saying we don't want to pay it, but as a startup, it's like
as a startup, first time event, you know, it's a big question mark. So I really had to sit down and ask myself, you know, hey, is this going to be a long-term thing?
Yeah.
You know, because what's the point in having this video if it's just a one and done, right? So we pulled the trigger on it. We ultimately did get the videographer, and that was the best investment I ever made.
I bet.
Because what happened was we ultimately got that video back, distributed it all over the internet, and that's what made the Tony P brand just absolutely explode.
Yeah.
But then even more importantly, I was able to take that video, and we were able to easily pitch all the other venues.
Oh yeah.
And the other venues were like, "Whoa, you can do that here?
Yeah.
Yeah, win." You know.
Right.
So they were excited. You know. So yeah, that was probably that one big decision that we had to make in that mix that really paid off.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple things there. Number one, the amount of work it takes for folks like you and I to curate things, whether it's just finding events that will resonate with your audience and putting in front of them just pro bono, like out of wanting to build that community, right? That's a theme here at the Scorpion Nest is different communities and how you build it and the sweat equity you have to put into doing this, because if you don't have a passion for it, you
gotta have a passion.
It's not going to last. And I mean, you guys have been doing this for almost 10 years now. So talk about having a passion for bringing people together.
Yeah, and it's I always say that it's never a dull moment. I mean, we're meeting so many different, interesting walks of life, people. I mean, and it's taken us in so many amazing directions.
So you go from corporate to starting your own networking event, and it starts blowing up. Have you seen any like dramatic transformations from attendees where like maybe some nervous people started showing up and they really like met friends and kind of built into themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a bit of a journey, and you know, people that are natural at it, you know, they kind of take it for granted, right?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of social anxiety out there, and a lot of people that are, you know, timid and such, you know, and I coach and advise and go around to different groups, and I speak on how to overcome those inhibitions initially.
I know a lot of people that need that training, or, you know, it's like you said, it's not easy for the folks that it's not like innate ability.
And I think the first piece of advice I would give for anybody, you know, a little timid to go to a new event or something along those lines, is just know that everybody in the room is feeling the same thing. Yeah. Just at varying degrees. Yeah. Right. And with our events, we have brand ambassadors who, and it's their job, you know, to go and seek out the people that are kind of like, you know, staying to themselves and not talking to many people. So those are, you know, our expert networkers, if you will, in the group, and they go in and make them comfortable and get their story. And what's nice is they know a lot of the other people's stories in the room, so they'll look for that commonality. Yeah. You went to U of I, or you went to Eastern, or, you know, you're in this fraternity, or, you know, you enjoy this sport, or you know, this type of thing. And then they'll go and connect them to somebody. And by the end of the night, you know, they're out. It's like they've been hanging out with us all along.
Yeah, that's an underrated asset that you have. I think a lot of us, I mean, I'll say that I'm very outgoing in social settings, but I don't have an unlimited social battery. So at some points, you know, I'm getting to like low energy at the event because I've been networking, and sometimes it is nice for someone to approach you as opposed to you being the approacher. So having like those secret shoppers or those master connectors in the crowd, I think helps out a lot. And I love connecting people. Like, that's one of my life goals now, is to be a master connector, just because I love seeing the magic that can happen when you bring one person that doesn't know the other person, but you know that they have a common connection. And it's like, wow, like this, wherever they go, maybe they start a business, maybe they join a club, maybe they just sit and drink beers at the bar together. But like, that wouldn't have happened unless there are people that actively just want to see people connect. And I see a lot of that at Tony P's.
Yeah, and it's you know, obviously the purpose of it is to find, you know, business opportunities. You know, but you got lifelong friendships that have happened. You got marriages that have happened. You know, and everything you can imagine. Yeah, right?
That's wild. I mean, people used to joke about that in the fraternity too, like how many people met their future spouses just from joining the club. And I'm sure it's happening with Tony P's. I mean, after almost 10 years of doing damn near weekly networking events, connections are going to be made, right?
Yeah. Do
you ever think about like how many new connections have happened because of Tony P's? Like, if you could have like a ticker or like a board of like, we made like exponential amount of connections.
Well, that's what you just took the word. It's exponential. It's a network. It's a snowball effect, right? I mean, so many people have met as a result of, you know, meeting somebody at the event, and then they get introduced to somebody. Yeah. You know, and it just nonstop opens doors for you. And that's why we always coach, you know, when you go to the event, you know, try to find that commonality first. You know, don't ask someone, oh, what do you do? Ask them, you know, what brought you here? Yeah. You know, and give them an opportunity to open up, right? and then look for those commonalities, right? And find that base of agreement, if you will, and then work from there. Because it's building a relationship. I always look at it as a marathon versus a sprint.
100%.
You know, the people that, you know, I think don't get the best experience are the ones that lead with a sale.
Yeah.
You know, and you go up to 50 people, you're told no, you're not going to have a good experience for the night, you know. But if you go up genuinely, you know, authentically wanting to meet people, understand people, and understand that, okay, these are people that could introduce me to who I'm ultimately looking for.
I think that's the key, is the mindset that you go into these events having. And a lot of these skills I've learned through sales training and books and videos, but I don't necessarily think it's strictly a sales skill. So for the folks that you're coaching, right, it's more like interpersonal skills that you can have. I was at an event at a different networking group. Sorry, didn't mean to cheat on you guys.
It's okay.
But a gal came up to me at the bar, and that's exactly what she did. She led with the sales. She's like, hey, I'm looking for my new opportunity. I do this. If you have any work for me, let me know. I'd love to just get a job. And I was like, I don't even know your name, lady. Like, how about we like go through the basics? Maybe my natural instinct is to ask a lot of questions. Figure out what your need is, what my need is, how do we connect, and that's how you kind of build a relationship. But going right into the sale is just such a major turnoff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to go back to a quick comment in regards to other groups or what have you. So that was one of me and Tony's decisions at the very get-go, is we always said we're going to play nice in the sandbox.
Yeah.
You know, there's enough people in Chicago, and it's all about building community, and we support a lot of other groups that are out there building community. You know, so we don't see it as a competition. In fact, the only competition that we really have is the couch. Right.
That's true. So
if someone's going out and doing something in a given evening and it's not particularly coming to our event, more power to them, you know?
Yeah. This is kind of a good segue, because I know you're part of other groups too. You know, I've been talking with some folks at Gold Coast Private Club. Or the Social Club.
Yeah.
You're affiliated with that as well?
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Ruth and group. yeah, they're amazing. It's a really awesome exclusive group, you know, primarily focused in the Gold Coast area, and they curate these really unique experiences, whether it be on a yacht or being in like a private, you know, room at a Bulls game or something along those lines, or getting a dinner invitation for like 10 people, you know, very exclusive. And, you know, I've had the good fortune of working with Ruth quite a bit on different projects over the years, and she does a really good job managing it.
Yeah, and I've noticed on social a lot that there's overlap, right? Like, not every networking group is built the same.
Right.
And everyone kind of goes to network for different reasons too. So if you're just looking to blow off steam and have a couple beers with people that might be in your industry, you go find those types of events. If you're looking to have a very private experience, you go find networking groups that do that, right? So there are, again, playing well in the sandbox, there are a lot of layers, and people can do multiple different groups and get different things out of it. So if you kind of set it up that way, where you're not trying to be everything for everybody and you stay in your lane, I mean, obviously you guys have a lot of success now, but more so for the other groups, like, you can still succeed even though there's competition out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for our events, they've evolved over the years. You know, we curate different events just depending on what type of vibe we're trying to put out there, you know, whether it be, you know, a fashion show or a content event where we're doing a panel discussion, or just a happy hour on a rooftop, you know? Yeah.
So you mentioned kind of leading with the sale, but are there any other like mistakes you see people do while networking? Like, I don't know, maybe someone's like getting too drunk, or they're just kind of like not doing it right.
I mean, there's definitely the obvious, right? You don't want to be overserved. You know, I mean, people have a pretty good radar for all of that.
Yeah.
You want to be very cordial, you know, just be self-aware of how much you're talking versus how much the other person's talking. You know, try your best to keep an equal balance, you know, and keep it very professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that too. A lot of people will get lost at where they're at, right? They'll be in the environment, they'll have a couple of drinks, and they'll forget, okay, I'm at a professional networking event, and then they start hitting on people or something along those lines. And we always say, hey, that's going to happen naturally, but in terms of talking to somebody outside of this environment, the proper thing to do is to have a coffee.
Yeah, let's take this offline.
Yeah, and I see that mistake a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, as large as the group is, it's a small community too. So you show up to the second event, you're going to be, oh, that's the guy that made me feel uncomfortable, and now you got a reputation, right?
And people, inadvertently, they exit themselves out of a great network.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because it's short-sighted, right? Like, you could be here for a long time and make a lot of great relationships, or you can succumb to some poor choices and just give up such a great thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's an unfortunate part of, I guess, the social aspect of networking. But I find that at Tony P's, there's really not a lot of that because you guys police your own, right? Or I guess now that I'm a member, we police our own. So you like-minded people bring like-minded people, and the community kind of just builds upon itself, where it's like maybe a random person from Eventbrite showed up and did it, but it wasn't like a regular, right?
Yeah, and we monitor it very closely. We got people out there that are giving us feedback on individuals. We've had the misfortune of having to ask people not to come back.
Sure.
Because it is. We want to keep we don't want one bad apple.
Right.
Right.
Because it's the brand. You got to protect the brand.
Exactly.
So after doing this for almost 10 years, I'm sure plenty of people have ran through your events. Have you had any high-profile folks come through, or maybe have you gotten any noteworthy guests to be like a guest speaker at your events, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. We definitely have. I would consider them more like Chicago celebrity though.
Yeah, which we love. I mean, that's the whole basis of the show is Chicago and the coolest people in the city. So that's perfect for us.
Yeah, we don't really cater or go after your big name rock star or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not that type of an event. But an individual like a Colin Egglesfield, right? So he was an actor who made it big, and he came back to his roots in Chicago.
Yeah.
We did some motivational events with him,
Cool,
which was really exciting. We've had some, sport athletes, Chicago individuals coming through, that type of thing. But for the most part, we're looking for the people that are running your local chambers as your presidents, and the people that are doing a startup that's really catching fire and getting their story type of thing.
Kind of like the silent professionals, the ones that are like really building something great, and you guys curate such a great group of entrepreneurs and Chicagoans and people that are, I mean, that's a Chicagoan in general, right? Hardworking, ambitious, but also not super flashy either.
Yeah, exactly. So, and people that are down to earth.
Yeah.
That are there, that are going to be there to network and to meet other people, right?
Yeah, totally. So with networking, right, you have tons of conversations with tons of different people on different levels. What are some of like the most powerful or eye-opening conversations you've had at one of your events? Wow.
I would say, I mean, there's a whole slew of them, right? So every event, that's what I love about this, the networking events. And this is one of the things I always say is, Tony P's, where everybody's ideas are welcome.
Yeah.
So, and it is because it's people just nonstop, talking and sharing ideas and developing ideas.
Totally.
Right. And I would say something just recently that we're working on. It's a project that we're getting off the ground, is our not-for-profit campaign.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting. A gentleman, Tom Lavin, who's a partner of mine now, he has started up a number of companies and a number of nonprofits, et cetera. And he really liked what we were doing in the realm of fashion.
Sure.
Okay. So we sat down one time and he was sitting there like, hey, look, the fashion events are great, good energy, you know, lots of beauty and all that. He said, but, you know, what are they for? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's a good question, you know? And it's like, well, you know, obviously
To have fun, like.
you know, to round out, you know, our different event portfolio. He's like, yeah, but what are they for, you know? And I'm like, here, why don't you help me out here a little?
Yeah.
You know? He's like, well, you don't have a cause, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, help me understand that a little bit, what you mean, you know? And he's like, well, look, you know, if you want to really, you know, make an impact here, which I think you do,
Yeah.
you know, you need to stand for something, you know? I mean, people, when they come to an event, yeah, they want to support you, they want to be entertained, but they also want to know that they're supporting, you know, something. Right? So he'd run a campaign called Not for Profit, and basically it's a way to create awareness around the atrocities of human trafficking. Okay, so it's a real simple campaign where you sell shirts, put Not for Profit on there. You have the different models, put them on, do photo shoots, etc. And it's just all in an effort to create awareness around this cause. You know?
Yeah. So you're raising money and building awareness of what's going on in the background of the fashion industry, or I guess the world in general, right?
Exactly.
And like, where are the funds going to? What kind of stuff are you guys deploying to help the cause?
Yeah, so we're evaluating on, you know, our pathway to making it a nonprofit, either that or partnering with the number of nonprofits that are already doing awareness around this. So we're kind of teetering on that aspect of it right now. But yeah, just raising the money, keeping it in one place, and then reinvesting it into getting the exposure.
So you guys can be the gas on the fire to actually make a bigger impact and help the industry.
Exactly.
I love that so much. Having a cause wrapped around, I mean, people really resonate with that and want to support. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and it's you know, we did a soft release at our last fashion show, and we got a ton of interest, a lot of questions around it. You know, people were already buying the shirts, etc. And then we actually have our launch event for the cause on June 12th on the Azul rooftop. So,
nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
We'll have all the models wearing the shirts and that type of thing.
Cool.
And,
Yeah, I'm excited for that event. You and I had talked offline about the June 12th event, and it sounds really awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, so another really cool event that's very dear to my heart that you guys recently had was the Pittsfield building event. And since I am down on Wabash, Jewelers Row quite a bit, that's a special building to me. Number one, my real estate background, I just love Chicago architecture. And for it to be so close to home for my jewelry business, I mean, that is just such an iconic building. And when I heard that you guys were partnered with the skyscraper guy who's just doing an amazing job of renovating, and I got to say his content is just so intriguing too. I mean, it's just so fun to watch this building that needed some love and go through the transformation process. And I can't wait to see when they're done, because it's going to be epic.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack right there, right? So because that is one of our major projects happening right now, is we partnered with Tom, the skyscraper guy, phenomenal individual, and he's got his own causes, right? So one of them being is revitalizing the Loop.
Yeah.
So he actually owns, I want to say, 5 skyscrapers.
Awesome.
And he took them off the city's hands, and you know, it's now.
It's like that's the only way to get things done in the city is to go private. It feels like
it can be. It's you know, a big risk, but he's done an amazing job with it. I've had the good fortune of, you know, getting to see a lot of it come to fruition. And the Pittsfield is that building, right? Where it's a historic landmark. I want to say it was built in 1927, one of the first skyscrapers in Chicago. It's got all these interesting stories about it if you watch Tom's content.
Yeah, a ton of history, man.
He's like Indiana Jones exploring the building, which is just awesome in general.
Right.
You know, but it being right there at the north side of Jewelers Row is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a really awesome event there just last week. The atrium inside of there, it's immaculate, right?
And I love getting breakfast at the Pittsfield. I mean, I was concerned before I met you guys. I'm like, I hope this place lasts, because you can see all the empty like retail spots, and Jewelers Row has shrunk quite a bit over the past couple decades, and it's like, man, I really hope that somebody comes in and just revitalize this. And then once I connected with you guys, you're like, hey, check this out. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yep. So it's been really cool because it is. He's got his set of investors or whatnot. We're helping him by having real estate events there, get that awareness and bringing in more people that had that, like-mindedness that they want to revitalize the loop. So
yeah, there's a lot of us out there, man. So keep doing those events, and we'll get more jewelers involved, I'm sure. And
more the merrier, man. I want to say there's probably a good 10 storefronts inside.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, that's what I love about your group is it's just made up of a bunch of great Chicagoans, really affecting not only their local communities but the city in general. Yeah, and we're all in one place, like just seeing how we can help each other make this city better. And I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, like what makes Chicago so special for building relationships and networking in general?
And that's a really good question. So one of our expansion plans for Tony P's was to go into different cities, right? Mm-hmm. And we quickly realized that this networking concept, I mean, while it's everywhere, it is pretty unique to Chicago, right? Because you have to have like the right mix, right? You have to have enough people attending so that there's an energy,
right?
And that it's worth the venue's while to host such an event, right? Yep. But then you also have to have a mentality of, I'll give the Midwest some props here. I think we're some of the more welcoming people there are out there.
We
right?
talk about that all the time on this podcast.
So it really is. It's like that. It's that combination of the size, the mentality, and I really feel like Chicago has got a lot of business first mentality too. Yeah. And that's something everybody can agree on, right? Yep. So it's easy to get not easy, but you can get a lot of like-minded folks together.
Absolutely.
Make it cost, effective for everybody involved, have a good time.
Yeah. That's a good point. So you think about like New York or LA or different cities. I mean, think about trying to go to a networking event in New York, like at 5:30 after work, and it's north of where you're at. Like, I'm not getting on a train for an hour just to get to this event. Like, right. Or LA, I mean, the traffic sucks. And, Chicago's just got a unique position where we've got the infrastructure, we got public transit, and we got since we don't have an east side because of the lake, probably it's easier to get to, right? Yeah. So we got the people, business-minded, friendly, willing to talk to each other. Yeah. Want to make money. Easy to get around. So I do believe what you said is true, is that we have a unique position when it comes to communities like this. Yeah. And and we went out to a number of different cities. We did an event in Houston, Vegas, we believe that Nashville, Tampa are probably some other good markets to expand in potentially. But then we took a step back and we realized, well, why are we looking at these other cities whenever each one of these suburbs is its own, city, right? So that's been our big focus now is getting out to these other suburbs. So we have an event in Naperville at the end of the month, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's just so much juice to squeeze here yet that why would you leave until you kind of tap this market?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with running events through the Scorpion Nest and whatnot, but there's a lot of people that just show up as attendees to Tony P's. Maybe you can give us some insights into all the work that it takes behind the scenes to put on some of these events, because you've got negotiating venues. What are you going to add value to for your ticket price? You probably need sponsorships. You're generating members. I mean, talk me through some of that stuff, because it's
you probably just nailed it all there. But yeah, the venue relationship is very key, right? Because they get that they get that all the time. Someone will say, "Hey, I want to produce an event here," and the venue's like, "Okay, well,
here's full price."
Yeah, here's full price, and then they're like, okay, maybe I don't want to produce an event here. If they're just trying to do a ticketed event where it's generating some revenue and it's their business, right? If you're a corporation, it's like, okay, here you go, pay the But at any rate, so the venues they've heard the story a million times over, right? So it's tough for them to make that judgment call, because the last thing they want to do is open up the door, get the staff, and do all these different things, right? To entertain 10, 20 people.
Yeah,
it's not
worth it.
That's a bust for them, right? So you have to have that credibility, and that's kind of the barrier to entry for the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Once you get it, then it's about the consumer experience, the attendee experience.
Yep.
Right? They need to come, and they need to meet worthwhile people.
Right.
They need to walk away from the event saying, okay, I met a good handful amount of people. I got opportunities. I'm revitalized. People like my idea because I practiced my pitch a few times. Type of thing. So just making sure that the people had a good experience. So one of the things that we do is we have photography at our events.
Yep.
We upload them. Within a few days.
Sure.
And then we start tagging individuals that we know and what have you, making them remember the event, but also making them feel more of a part of it. Right.
You want to feel like you belong.
Exactly. We do have the membership program for our hardcore networkers, the people that aren't necessarily involved with one or two things, but they just like getting out and meeting people. They're consummate networkers, right? Sponsorship is another big piece of things. Yeah, obviously, if you got somebody that's knows you and is willing to write the check, wonderful.
Yep.
But
keeps the lights on.
Most sponsors are like, okay, what's your foot traffic? What are we? How help me understand how we're going to get a return on investment.
Yeah, as they should, right? A good marketer checks on ROI, and but again, you have to have aligned visions, right? Like, if I'm sponsoring Tony Pieces, because I already know, like, and trust you guys, and whether I get one customer out of it or 10 or whatever, like, I don't really care, because I know that I'm helping the cause.
Right.
And it's not necessarily, well, what's in it for me?
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I think has led to our longevity is our mission. It's plain and simple, just to help build community in a good, safe, productive environment.
And we've needed that. I talk about this all the time. Post-COVID, in-person networking events have been critical for building communities, because we were just in a bad spot with that whole pandemic.
Yeah, and that's a whole conversation in itself.
We'll save that for episode 2, maybe.
All right.
But so on this journey, did you ever doubt yourself, or be like, man, I don't know if this is going to pan out, or was it just straight success?
Yeah, no, I wish I could say it was straight success. It's so funny. You see those diagrams, and it's like circles and all that other stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, that pretty much, wraps it up. Because remember, we went through the pandemic for a year and a half, where the venues were done, the business was done. But here's why I was saying what we think contributes to longevity is our core mission of just building community. So when COVID hit, we took everything online.
There you go.
And that exploded.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there really isn't a good revenue model for online networking.
Yeah.
So we were just doing it to just keep people together. And then coming out of COVID, people left, they lost their jobs. Their lives just changed.
Yeah.
So we had to rebuild our audience. We thought everybody would be rushing back, and that wasn't the case at all.
Damn.
So we had to, and then there's the social anxiety piece of things, you know? So there was a lot of challenges that we didn't anticipate coming out, but we stayed true to our mission, in some way, somehow.
And now you guys are thriving more than ever. So that resilience is key as an entrepreneur. And we talk to a lot of business folks on this show. And I think one of the recurring themes is being resilient. It's tough. You really got to believe that you're going to come out the other side successful no matter what happens. And
compartmentalization is a word I probably repeat to myself 20 times on any given day. It is, because you have call it 10 factors going on in your life. It could be anything, right? And if you and they're not all going to be great,
right?
And if you let that one bad factor going on, bleed into the other 9 things that you have going on, man, they're going to suffer.
There goes the spiral.
And that's when yes, exactly. So it's kind of like, all right, I can't control this right now. What can I control? And focus on that and give that your all,
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. It's cliche, but it always works out.
Yeah, the people that want to believe are going to believe, and the folks that don't, I mean, you are where you are because of the actions and inactions, and it's not anyone else's fault besides you, is kind of what I preach to people.
Yeah.
And, the mindset game's tough, but
yeah,
if you've got the mind for it, you're definitely going to be successful in whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Well, we're getting close to time, and I say this about every guest. I'm like, we're going to need a second episode because the conversations just go so naturally. Anything other than kind of expanding to the burbs that's next for Tony P's? Like, what's on the horizon?
Yeah, I think what's really nice what we're doing. So when we came out of COVID, we had a few different signature events. So we were into tech, we were into business, we were into cannabis, and we were into real estate, right?
Okay, yeah.
And we were looking at it, we're like, okay, well, we need to do more with the creative and the arts. And that's when the fashion got involved, right? Because what we really wanted to do was build a portfolio of events where there's something for everybody, right? And if you think of it like a Venn diagram, there's that core nucleus, right?
Yep.
And that's pretty much our membership base, right?
Yeah.
And that's where our main focus is right now. We just opened up a studio in the Loop, about 4,000 square feet, where we're having member-only events, and we're really getting into building out content. So we're looking into different streaming options and things like that. One of the other big things on the horizon is we're starting a speakers club. So people that are interested in getting on stage and going out and have a message to share. We want to help coach, train those individuals, and give them a platform to do it. But yeah, that keeps us busy.
I love that. A lot of irons in the fire and a lot of worthwhile causes from Tony P's and the crew. We'll get into a couple fun questions I like to ask at the end, and then we'll let people know how to get a hold of you. But do you have any favorite Chicago restaurants or bars you like going to on your off time?
Oh, wow. You know what? I've always been a huge fan of Roots.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Their pizza style, and, they get these mozzarella sticks that are like logs, man. And that's my guilty pleasure right there, man. Just
I know they got a couple locations around the city, right?
Huh?
They have a couple.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, Roots has a cult like fan base, I think, out there. So that's a solid choice. Out of all the pizza places in Chicago, wasn't expecting Roots, but they got good stuff.
And I am. I'm a Illuminati's guy. I'm a Giordano's guy. I love it all. But yeah, Roots has got something special for sure.
I love that. Do you have anyone that you'd love to see as a future guest on the Scorpion S podcast?
As far as a guest is concerned, we got a pretty big circle. So it just depends on what you're looking for, what you think your audience would be interested in hearing from. We got athletes in our network. We got people that run charities. We got people that are started companies and are doing well entrepreneurship wise. So you let me know what might make sense for you, and I have a ton of people that I would recommend for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's going to be a great talent pool for future content. So I'm looking forward to connecting on that.
Yeah.
So I have to say, I recently became a member of Tony P's. So I'm not being paid to say this. I do love being part of the group, but for the folks that want to join Tony P's or just check out an event here or there, where can they find you?
Yeah, probably the best place to find is our website, Tony P's with an S, networkandevents.com. But we got that same name on LinkedIn, Facebook, on Instagram as well. We're pretty easy to find. If you Google us, we're pretty up there as far as just Chicago network and events are concerned.
Yeah.
So, and all of our website's pretty developed. So you can go on there, you can see 7-8 years of pictures going back to 2017. We've documented everything along the way. Yeah, we just kind of knew we had a good feeling good things were going to happen. You can see our charity partners on there. You can read about our membership program. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, we have all the information on there as well. All of our upcoming events. We keep a rolling schedule of probably call it the next 6 to 8 weeks of events on there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll throw all the links in the description on YouTube so you guys can check it out. But big thanks, Greg. Thanks for coming on and showing the audience why Chicago is one of the best places to network. And share with us the great things that you guys are doing in the city that we love.
Absolutely. And this is amazing. You're doing an amazing job. And thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for coming.
All right.